Hello, and welcome back to the Who Are You podcast. I'm your host, Connor Overbay. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, welcome. Always happy to have a new listener, a new watcher, someone enjoying our content. Make sure you guys give us a follow on all of our social media. It's going to be at Who Are You Pod from everything from Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, Facebook, pretty much all the normal spots. You guys know where to find us nowadays. As well as if you guys want to give us a like, a subscribe, or a comment on YouTube, it's going to be Who Are You podcast, and you guys will be able to find us on there as well. But today, we're sitting down with a very special guest, a guy who has been on the podcast before, and we've become friends ever since the podcast.
Fuck yeah, son.
Sir, I'm sitting down with the host of the Graybeard podcast. I have been lucky enough to be on your podcast multiple times now, and I'm glad to have you back today.
There'll be more.
Yes, sir. Today, I'm sitting down with Mr. Jim Mullis. Shout out to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good to be here. Welcome myself. Welcome to your podcast.
I love having you back, man. I was saying, we're always talking back and forth, whether me on your streams or, talking through social media and everything.
Yeah, that's a fun part of having that live thing going on, is the people popping in. It can be fun and it can be annoying, but
I can understand. I try not to comment too crazy much.
You're good. You're good.
But before we get too started or too much deep into the conversation, if you want to let everybody know where they can find your podcast, anything you want to promote here at the beginning.
Well, you can find my podcast on YouTube. We stream live now every Friday is our new night. We were Wednesdays, but we changed to Friday. Anyways, it's just it's just our handle is at the Graybeard Podcast on YouTube, and then it's the same on Instagram at the Graybeard Podcast. You got to put in the.
Yep, I understand.
I am on X or Twitter, and I've been pretty active on there, although it's a little more saucy of it on that page.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're having fun, but it's at the the RGB podcast, the Real Graybeard Podcast is what the RGB. Try to make it cool. I might actually rebrand to the RGB Podcast. I don't know.
Hey, man.
We'll see. Because it kind of has a little connotation to cameras.
Yeah.
RGB, the red, green, blue.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, doesn't make any... Whatever.
You're good, man.
Ask questions.
You're good, man. Like I said, I'm happy to have you back on, man. Let's say, obviously, I pay attention to everything you guys do, and me and you have guests on. Sometimes I'll see guests on your podcast, and then I'll have them on mine, or vice versa, and everything. Mm-hmm. And I love to see it, dude. I love to see the cross pollination, and other people getting a chance to get to go on multiple shows. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've had quite a few people reach out to me that I saw on your podcast. So I appreciate that.
Dude, I remember there was one, it cracked me apart. I just tuned in. I was eating dinner. I was sitting there at the table eating dinner, and it was that girl that was promoting that book, and she threw some shade at me. I was like, oh, damn. I was like, I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, and I was like, look, he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of shit going on. He does have a life and outside, but just keep hitting him up. That's the only advice I can give to people is like, if they're trying to get something out there, or they're wanting to get on one of these podcasts, because there's a shitload of podcasts. I don't know how many there are globally right now, but I know there's a crap ton, and we're just doing our thing and just trying to be a part of that community, or whatever you want to call it. But it's just if you want to get on and promote something, you really need to do the legwork, and you need to keep hustling. There's a couple of people that have reached out to me, and they've continually reached out to me. And I may or may not have them on. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's all based on, I watch people.
Same.
Because like you, my podcast is in my house. Mm-hmm. I have my people there. I have to watch you. I have to know that you're not a douchebag,
or someone that's dangerous. That's the main. That's the huge thing.
Yeah, that the douchebag thing kind of encompasses the dangerous. Yeah. I don't want any weird shit going on in my house, and that's my whole goal with the podcast is eventually, I don't care if I make money off of it. It would be nice, but I'm trying to set aside money. And stack my bills, or whatever the kids are saying these days, and so I can get a place off site, that's a actual just a standalone building, or an office inside of an office building, whatever, but I want to be able to have a place that's central to Jacksonville, that everybody can kind of come to and they feel good about, because a lot of people don't want to drive all the way from where I'm at, or to where I'm at, but they do. But I don't know if I want to have everybody in my house. Mm-hmm. So if I don't follow you and you're reaching out to me, just keep hanging on.
Yeah.
Stay cool. I'm watching you. If you see me follow you back, that means I'm going to watch what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, is like when it comes to getting reached out to on the show and everything, I do see all the messages. Every time you message the Who Are You, it's me. I'm the one who sees it. I'm the one who reads it, responds, sets up the calendar and everything. But if I ask you what you're about and, you don't really give me a good answer, or something that I feel like I can't formulate questions and have a good conversation around it, it's just, you know what I mean? And it's not hating on anybody. Or if I go to your page and all you're doing is selling drugs and doing all this other stuff, I'm like, I'm not going to bring you into my world. I'm just like, that's just not how it's going to work. And, there's times where I go on like streaks. Like if I have like 3 or 4 artists on, I'm like, okay, I need to change up the subject. I need to change up who I'm talking to a little bit just to keep it fresh, because, I can only say so many, I feel like I get repetitive on my questioning, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing my job and sitting here and like, coming up with formulating questions that are a little bit more interesting, a little bit more thought-provoking, rather than just phoning it in and be like, so what kind of materials do you use? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you could say I phone it in. I don't know. We're alike, but we're so different, you and I.
Yeah.
I don't write questions. I don't take notes. I mean, I'll watch people and I get a feel for them. And then I'm like, they look like somebody I want to talk to. And it's just like, when I walked in, we had like a 30-minute conversation, and maybe that's just something that a bone that or a muscle we've developed, not a bone, that's weird, a muscle that you and I have developed over doing this over the years, that I can conversate with like anybody, and I enjoy it. If it's something, that's, if you have a cool story and I'm like, dude, I want to talk to you about that.
Oh yeah.
And I just have a conversation. I try to stay away from like asking too many questions, like making it interviewee.
I totally understand. And that's the thing that's cool about podcasts is you have your own style, and there's nothing wrong with it, man.
100%.
Say for me, like nowadays, when I first started doing the podcast, it was definitely a lot more off the cuff, like, oh, they would say something, and then I'm like, okay, I can dig a little bit deeper into that. And it's still like that in some ways, but I do, just in case if I feel the conversation is, getting to a point where it's like lacking or it's getting slow, I have some pre-written questions which I know will start a conversation.
Right.
And then I'll see where that leads,
Which is probably smart.
It's everybody's different, man. There's, and like you said, there's a million ways of podcasting. There's a million ways to skin a cat, I guess you could really say. And there's no wrong way of doing it. It's just what I've started to formulate myself, because as you were saying, busy in life, there's some days where I get off work and there's 30 minutes before the interview. I'm like, oh shit, what I mean? So I've kind of formulated and sat down and wrote questions down just to help myself out to remember. Or there's months where I have 6 people on the podcast and I'm like, okay, I need to, make sure I have
sort them all out.
Yeah, just have something down just so I can kind of, round out the podcast. Or if they have a business I have specific questions on and want to get a little bit deeper into it, I'll write those down. Or say if I've seen, like I have a couple questions for you from watching your podcast. Ooh. Oh, yes, that's right. From watching your podcast over the years, as well as just like certain things I've seen pop up. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. That was an experience I haven't had yet. I want to ask about that. Or, just some people are different. But like, like recently I just had Rich Herrera on. He has a podcast called Eat Your Content, and his is all about food and pop culture.
Dope.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I like food. I've also cooked myself and everything, so I wrote down some specific questions, and we're trying to promote him in a certain way as well, asking questions that sometimes you get under these bright lights and you're like, oh shit, I didn't promote myself correctly, or I didn't like say my social media content or whatever it is. So I try to help them as well as the main thing. So but the podcast is fun, man. It's cool to see, and obviously it's changed over the years. Like I'm sure your content has changed a little bit, just like mine has.
Definitely.
Say your first interview, we were sitting here at the table, and all I had was my iPhone and that little.
Hey, and it worked.
Hey, it did. It worked well.
And that's what I try to tell people when they're like, I want to start a podcast. And there's a couple of things I tell them. Like, first, make sure you really want to do it, because it is a commitment. It's not something you should take lightly, because it's going to take over your fucking life. And second, you don't need all the crazy gear. You just don't. I mean, if you accumulate it over the years and you're able to build up and do something different, then do that. But start out, get a little fucking Tascam recorder, or just use your phone.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, I've bought a few things, they're like wireless mics, kind of like the Rode, wireless.
I want to get some of those.
I'll suggest the newer brand. They have a CM28, I believe, is the brand, or it comes in a little box. It's got the 2 mics and a receiver. You hook it right into your camera, or and it goes into your phone. It's got 2 inside the box. It's got 2 little adapters. You can plug it right into your phone and put them on your lapel. They have magnets and they stick right on you.
That's cool.
And you can just have an interview that way.
Yeah.
And it was $139. So
that's not bad at all.
You've already got a phone, so there's your camera, and then you just get those little lapel mics and you just have a 2-person conversation, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And then you can edit it however you want. So those are like 2 of the main things for people that are wanting to start podcasts. Not that you asked me that, but it just kind of came off the top of the dome.
You're good, man. No, I totally agree. Like, podcasting is one of those things. And, whenever I first started this, I was like, I don't want to invest $20,000 into something, and then I only do it for 2 weeks. And then I'm like, why do I have all this audio equipment or all these video equipment? So just like us, we've built over time. Like you said, like I started off with the iPhone. I started off with 2 microphones. The most expensive thing was this Rodecaster thing I bought over here. And to be honest, that's the best piece of equipment I could have ever bought.
I highly recommend it.
I agree.
It's worth the nut. Put it that way. I mean, I had Nate Sauer on last week, and he's a photographer here in Jacksonville. Shout out, Nate. But yeah, he was asking me about podcasts, and I was like, dude, that piece of equipment right there is for a podcast. I said, I've gone through so many different, interfaces and recording devices, and this is by far the best. It sounds the best. It's the cleanest. It's got everything you need on it. And it's basically like a little podcast kit all in one.
And it's mobile. That's the thing as well. Because like whenever I first started this, I would go to people's businesses because, I'd reach out to someone and then I would be like, hey, you want to do a podcast? And most times they didn't want to come to some random 25-year-old house or apartment or whatever it is, which I totally understand as we were talking about the safety aspect of things. And now I've built it up to the point now where there's enough content out there where people are like, okay, like this is
legit.
Yeah. Like I built up the studio. I've done things, I post videos every single day. I'm very busy with this.
You really do. It wears me out. I get tired. I mean, not tired of seeing you, but I get tired. Like, I'm like, this dude is working, bro. I mean, he's putting in the work. I try. I'll go. And I've said this on my podcast before. I've kind of tried to cut back on my social media intake and experience, and so I'll allot myself a certain amount of time. And of course, like you're like one of the first people I see. You're in my algorithm. Who Are You podcast is in my algorithm. So like, I'll try to like as much stuff as I can, but I'm just like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Is this all that I see now? Thanks, Instagram. At least you know who I like, but
yeah, man, I just try to post stuff out there, and because I feel like I feel a commitment whenever I sit down and say, hey, say you're a business owner, you're an artist, entrepreneur of some sort. I feel a commitment to you saying, hey, this is what I was going to do. You gave me your time, and I'm going to make sure I fulfill that commitment to you.
I don't feel that commitment.
There's nothing wrong with that.
The only commitment I have right now is to try to not get their episode pulled from YouTube.
Yeah. So speaking of that, that was one thing I wanted to bring up. Yeah. So you got censored from what I heard, and obviously it was the big C word, that whole thing.
It was more than that, but yeah.
So walk me through the situation, break it down.
You want me to say the words?
You can say COVID. I don't care.
Ooh.
Yeah, say you're fine.
Well, I don't know. I think it was what we were saying. It might have come off as misinformation,
but
that was what they said. It was literally like 2 minutes after the live ended. I got a notification from YouTube, and they're like, we're reviewing we pulled the episode, we've paused it, I guess, so no one could see it, and then we're reviewing it for, misinformation. And I'm like, okay. So I scroll down, and there's a little box you could type in, or like an appeal. 45 characters.
That's it?
That's what they gave you.
45 characters?
Yeah, what am I supposed to say in 45 characters except fuck you?
Basically, yeah.
Well, fuck me running.
Yeah.
Maybe that might be with an exclamation point. Isn't that I don't know. I'm not. But yeah, and so I did. I tried to put as much detail into this 45 character appeal that I could, put in. And it was almost immediate after I hit send. I get another notification, and they're like, episode's gone, and they gave me a timestamp. So I go to that timestamp, and I already knew. We started talking about COVID, and some other things came up in my brain, and that's kind of how I just operate. I had saw a video that was talking about something that was, it was talking about transhumanism, which you got to be real careful with that.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. This is, again, not to get Connor's episode pulled because I said a word, but I'm not. I did, and I always preface if I'm saying something that's like, this was a PhD that was saying this.
Yes.
I'm not saying this. I'm just telling, and this is what I said. I'm just. This is a video that I saw. I'm describing it. That's all. And I did say, I'm a moron with a podcast. Don't fucking come here for facts. This is not factual. These are all just, thoughts.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough of a disclaimer for YouTube. So, but unfortunately, the monopoly that is YouTube is basically the only place we can really upload to our long form content. There is another. What is it? Rumble.
Yeah.
I found Rumble, and I was like, should I go over to that? And I put the post out. And I was like, does anyone know what this thing is? Is it like viable? I mean, but some of the people reached back to me, and they were like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not as functional as YouTube, and there's really no reach and this and that. So I was just like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to go over there.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to pull my content from YouTube. I mean, like, I'm not getting paid. I don't monetize. Would I like to? Of course. But do I want to do it the way YouTube wants me to do it? Fuck no. I don't want ads in my shit unless I'm doing a live ad.
I understand. Like you're doing the read. Yeah.
Like if I'm doing just like in the middle of the podcast, I'll say, hey, this, episode brought to you by water.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about it. It's wet, and it's really cold when you put it in your refrigerator, shit like that. And just do a live read either at the beginning or the end, and not to really break up the conversation. Kind of insert it into the conversation so that, hey, me and my guest, we can both talk about this water and, how great it is and how each one tastes different.
No, I totally agree with you, man. And like when it comes to the sponsorship sides of
things, like how I stuck that in there.
I like it. There's people who, I feel like kind of sell their soul a little bit. Whenever I listen to a podcast and there's 10 freaking ad reads, I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I understand, you're making your money. I'm not hating on it in any way, shape, or form. To be honest, if I had, 20,000 sponsors wanting to hit me up and wanting to be be a part of the podcast, I could understand where you get into that. But also it's getting to the point now where it's just like every 10 minutes there's an ad read. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. For me, like I do have a sponsor of the podcast. Yep. When it comes to doing the podcast and everything,
and this is a good spot to insert that ad.
Exactly. So when it comes
we'll be right back.
Say brought to you, but when it comes to us, like we have a sponsor. It's called BetterHelp. They do teletherapy and everything, and I'm sure obviously you're aware of how like important mental health awareness.
It's so funny hearing you break into your own podcast.
But like
have Shannon read it.
Yeah, right. I say Shannon, bring out the ad read. But it's an important thing to me, so I thought they were a good partner. That's the thing. It's not like it's something. Fits. It's not against my morals, and that's where I feel like some people are just going in for the money, which understand, no hate, make your bag. But also I'm not going to sell my ass for it. That's just not how it works. It's just, this is my show. This is my baby. Sell
your ass for?
Only you, big boy.
Whoa.
But, like when they reached out, and it's not like every time I do an ad read, I get paid. It's really based off creator codes. Every time someone listens to me and they trust me and then they go and they try to get help or whatever it is, it's cool that I get a little kickback here and there. I'm not a millionaire off of it.
But they get a discount.
Yeah, they get a discount off of it, and that makes me feel good as well that they're getting the help that they need, and they're getting a discounted price for it to try it out and see what they can do. But it's one of those things where it's gotten to the point now where everything is so monetized. You're not successful unless you are a monetized podcast, which I don't believe. What makes me feel like a podcast is successful is when someone's like a buddy of mine. My friends don't always repost my content or even like my content, but whenever they say, "Hey, dude, I listened to that episode. It was really good." That's what gets me. Or like you reach out to me sometimes. You're like, "Dude, that was an awesome episode," and I was like, "Thank you. I greatly appreciate that." And that's where I feel like making the difference is what gets me going. When someone is feels good off the podcast, or I helped someone get some business from the podcast. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I've had a couple that I started paying more attention to. Like, I'll go to their Instagram page and see how many followers they have before, and then like a couple of days later, I hit it again, and I'm like, hey, easy.
Dropping golf balls over here.
You're fine. Don't run away.
How dare you?
Her balls dropped.
That's right.
You're a man now. You know, and I like if they had like a bump, and you know, of 5 followers, I'm like, hey, all my people. You know, that's a bad joke. I have more than 5, but you know, I do make that joke as well because I know where I'm at. I know I'm a small time podcast, you know, creator. I'm not crushing it. I'm not getting millions of views and millions of downloads and subscribes and shit like that. The only reason that I would even want that is so that, like you, I could promote the person who's on the page better. And I also feel like with when you have more reach, and I feel like when you do monetize, especially with like YouTube, I feel like they put you into a different tier because you're now making them money. And when you're making them money, you can say whatever the fuck you want to say.
Oh yeah.
There's no restriction. There's no, you know, bullshit. The only thing is obviously copyright stuff. So playing music, playing videos, whatever. And we sometimes do that as well. So that's one of the perks of not having too many followers. I'm not monetized. So it's like, what are you going to pull my episode? I'll just put it right back up.
Yeah. No, I understand. And like for example, like juggernauts, like Joe Rogan, you know, he can kind of do a little bit of whatever he wants. And I'm also a big Joe Rogan fan. I love his show. I find it very interesting with the people he talks to and everything. But it is like that. You know, there's also when you get to that point where
he's fearless.
Yeah, where you're fearless, but also when you get to the point where you are monetizing them and you're making them money, you also get a YouTube representative. So when there's that situation where your episode got pulled, you have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You don't have a 45 character freaking line that who
was
can,
AI.
Yeah, who in the world can like describe or even, you know, some way, shape, or form to like, hey, that's wrong in 45 characters. That's damn near impossible. Yeah, so it's one of those things.
I'm not a wordsmith.
Neither am I. I would say I'd actually have to go to ChatGPT to tell them to write it for me.
Give me a 45 character rebuttal. No, but yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, you know, and I was going to bring that up. You know, the people like that, the gentleman that you just described. I am trying so hard these days to not say that podcast. I don't want to name drop in my podcast. So, you know, but people can see it.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, I've definitely fashioned the way it looks after that show because I like it. You know, obviously the old school, you know, the way it was when he just had the curtains and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have the money to build a studio like he has and have a fucking neon light behind me that says my name. Maybe one day. I'm not really worried about it, but yeah, they can they have more leeway. They don't feel the stress and pressures that we have. And, you know, it's probably better as far as you really don't have to advertise anymore. It's word of mouth at this point. You know, if people don't know who the JRE is, they're just like, where have you been living, under a rock?
Pretty much.
You know, whereas you and I, as small content creators, which I fucking hate that term too, small podcasters, you know, we have to just work nonstop to make content and post it and upload and share it and, you know, beg people for, you know, this. I don't beg nobody for fucking nothing.
I don't either, man. Like, I reach out to people and, you know, if they say no, I'm like, okay, that's no issue at all. I appreciate your time and everything. And, or like, like we were talking with our last episode where we sat down with Rich. We were talking about how we get guests, and he's had like I don't know if you've ever watched like Top Chef or like Chopped or anything like that. He's had like Emmy nominated, you know, people on the show and everything. And he's only been around for less than a year, is what he was saying.
Right.
And my thing is just reach out. You never know who you're going to get involved with.
Yeah, and I think that's like a very niche market. You know, so I think, and people like. Not to, you know, stereotype or pigeonhole people, but, you know, like housewives, they love that shit. They're like, oh, you know, and house husbands. Just be safe.
My goals. I want to be a house husband.
Right?
I'm totally down.
On it. Stop having car wrecks and just get to work.
Yeah, Shannon. It's like, damn it.
Stop hitting her, people.
Yeah, right. My buddies have been making a joke saying I have a hit on her. I'm like, stop. I'm like,
don't even say that.
I'm like, that's not fucking true, you assholes. Yeah, I'm like, God damn it.
I'm like, wrong kind of hit.
I'm like, I spent too much damn money. I spent too much damn money on rings and weddings for this, for that to be a thing.
Nah, it's the love, man.
It's the love.
It's the love. But where the fuck fuck was I don't remember.
You're fine. So you were talking about being small content creators, you know, the amount of work that we have to go into and everything.
Yeah.
And it is like, you know, it is a lot of work, but for me, like, it gives me something to do. That's the main thing is like, you know, obviously I was telling you, you know, to be full transparent with the podcast and everything, as you guys all know, I do. I know. You say I was let go from my new job that was recent, and you know, it was pretty shitty situation. They basically only shot me an email, didn't even tell me, you know, couldn't even give me a phone call. It was right back when me and Shannon got back from vacation, so that really sucked. So now I'm taking a month off of not podcasting. I'm not taking a month off the podcast, but I'm taking a month off of working and kind of taking a look around at exactly what I want to do, because ever since I was 16 years old, man, I've been working. Right. Even when I was in college, I was full-time working, full-time college and everything. And I just feel like life has gone by so quick where I haven't actually had a moment to actually sit down and really make a decision. I've been more just chasing the money, trying to like just make however much money I can.
Trying to build your life.
Yeah, you know. I have a commitment to Shannon to make sure I try to make sure I help put her in the best position possible, and she does the same for me. You know, she works her ass off on a daily basis. She goes to work 40, 50-hour weeks just like I did, and it's gotten to the point now where I'm like, okay, I need to actually think and sit down and think about what I want to do. Right. I want to not just go aimlessly and like chasing the money. I want to actually go do a career that I personally enjoy, that I get satisfaction out of, and not just going it for the money. So it's one of those things, and it definitely sucked, but I also was relieved as well because I hated the fucking job, to be 100% honest with you. I'd come home every day. Shannon knew I was coming home pissed off every day, like angry. I'm not an angry person. No. You know, I'm very jovial, happy, you know, jokey around kind of thing. And I remember I sat down, and when I got that email, we were about to go pick up my mom's dogs because they were out of town. We were picking the dogs up to take them back to their house before they got home. And I read the email, and I was mad at first. It was my first initial reaction was pissed off. And then a sense of relief kind of went over me. I'm like,
that's some weak sauce, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Fire somebody through an email. Yeah. Pussy.
No, I 100% agree, and I hope they watch this episode. And
I do too,
and hope they know they can fuck off personally. And that's the thing. I'm not gonna say their company name.
Don't give them that.
Yeah, no, it's not even that, because I feel like there are people who'd like to sue. So I'm not doing that.
No, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't give them the clout. Yeah, you know, because people. You know how it is. You say something, if you name something on your podcast, people that are listening or watching, they're going to go and look it up. I don't want to give anybody that bullshit.
Nah, fuck them. As I said, it was very childish, cowardice. Yeah. Is that a word? Something like that? Yeah, I'm making up my own English today. But, you know, it definitely sucked. But it's also, like I said, given me a moment to really take a breath. And, like, I can't tell you the last time I've had a whole week or two off of work to sit there and think about things. Yeah. It's been,
you haven't just been playing the game, have you?
Yeah. Well, no, not video games. I've been sitting here, man. I've been just thinking about exactly what I want to do. And, you know, like even this next week coming up, I have nothing going on. So I'm looking about going back to college. I'm looking about going and, you know, trying a different field. Like, I'm sure I've told this on the podcast. Like, originally I was going to school to be a nurse, and I couldn't pass the classes and blah, 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 blah. And that was also back when I was 19, 20 years old. And I'm a little bit more focused now. You know, I have a reason for what I'm doing now, not just because I wanted to make as much money as possible and blah, blah, blah. And getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, let me go do what I want to do, not what someone else is telling me to do or someone else wants me to do. So it's an interesting thought process.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people would say, "Damn, Connor, you do such a good job with this podcast. Why don't you just do that full time?" But people don't realize that there's no such thing. Yeah. I mean, not anymore. Unless you hit this weird niche and like you hit this vein where people just go, "Oh shit, this is dope," and you know, you blow up overnight. It's a slow burn these days as far as podcasting goes. Like I know it's not a career. Would I love it to be? Of course, I'd love to do it as a career. But I know it's not, so I keep my job. You know, and when people ask me, you know, why do you do this podcast? I'm like, because it's fucking fun, dude.
I love doing it. This is what gets me excited every week. Yeah. Like whenever, like, you know, you walked in, I gave you a big old hug. Yeah. I was like, what's up, bud? And like, I missed you, man.
It's like going for the fist bump. This bitch fucking lurch grabs me.
I was like, yeah. But that's the thing, is just like podcasting is a beautiful art form. Yeah. And like, that's the thing that keeps me coming back to it. Obviously, it's nice to get a little bit of financial help here every so often. Sure. I'm not going to lie about it, but that's not what I do it for. I do it for the people here and helping promote and uplift my community. And also it gives me someone to make friends. You know, I make really good friends out of doing this. Like,
you're a social person, though.
I am.
See, I'm an introvert as shit, and I think we talked about it on the last one, but I'd rather stay. Like, I was talking to my girlfriend this morning, and we were talking about, we were just having a conversation about life.
Yeah.
And
as one does.
You know, and just like I was thinking back to when people got grounded during COVID, you know, like the stay-at-home order, and I was an essential employee, and I didn't get that opportunity. But boy, would I've loved to just not have anyone around me, and just sat on the couch and watched TV and just been a fat blob. I missed out on that.
I did too. I was in the pest control industry at that time. We were essential workers as well, so I understand.
Yeah, you got to get them, you know, them pests, man, because they carry the bugs.
But see, for like that freaks me out because I'm always like moving and shaking, doing something, and like this past week, it's really like messed with me just to sit here at home and not do anything.
Just you and your thoughts.
Yeah, well, like, you know, as I've talked to you about like bouts of depression, mental health shit, and all that stuff, it made me question like, am I like good enough for this? Like, am I good enough as a person? I'm like, did I like, you know, like I really like question myself. I'm like, am I like a piece of shit? Like, what the fuck did I do that to someone?
I mean, I'm saying but no.
I understand. No, you're good, man. And you know, that's where having a support system like my wife, like my family, you know, that's where like you guys as well as just, you know, I'm lucky enough where I built a support group now where, you know, people can bring me back and, as you said, ground me back a little bit and be like, hey, dude, like, take a second. It's okay. And that's why I'm taking this time to really kind of think about what I want to do and make a more calculated decision rather than just, like I said, off the cuff and just do whatever.
Yeah, I've noticed you know, especially with like, you know, I have a lot of photographers come on the show, and a lot of them, like me and probably like you, don't like, you know, spending, like, you have to be this content creator. You got to put a certain persona out to the world, and it's always not your persona. Most of the time, I can't say always, but most of the time it's not who you are, you know, but the way we are, that's what you see is what you get. But
100%.
You know, but a lot of guys and girls that I've talked to, like after the show, they're just like, and sometimes during, they're just like, you know, it's been very depressing. It's been, like, just not good. Mental health is not good with these people. And I love these people, you know, just like you and Shannon. And I'm like, you know, I feel like we're friends. And when I'm friends with somebody, I love you, you know, and I want, if I can, you know, and I offer this to everybody, you know, it's like, hey, if you need a fucking ear, you know, I'm here, you know, I've got at least 47 years of experience in life. And, you know, I've been through some shit, and if there's anything like that, if you want my advice about things, I'll give it to you. If you don't, if you just want me to shut the fuck up, if you just need somebody to talk to, like, bro, I'm here, you know, and I know I've heard you offer that as well. And I think that people fucking need that, especially men. Dudes don't like talking about their shit. It's so hard. I still don't, you know, like I'll go home and my girlfriend will be like, hey, how's your day? And I'm like, it's good. You know, because you don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're worried that they're going to see you as weak or, you know, whatever the fucking reason is, it's usually nonsense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't care who you are. I mean, dude, reach out, find somebody, find a friend, you know. That was one, actually, Nate and I were talking about that, you know, my friend Barry Michler that I had on the podcast, he's a photographer. We went for a photo walk. You know, we decided, and I posted about it. I opened it up to the general public, and we were just, it's not paid. Like, we're not charging people. We just wanted to have like a hang, you know, and just go out with some creatives and be, or not, if you just want to come hang out.
Yeah.
You know, and it ended up just being the two of us. And like in the morning, like the mood was like a certain way. And then by the end of the day, we were both smiling, laughing, cutting up and hugging each other. And it was like all smiles and hugs.
Yeah.
You know, and it was definitely, and we both discussed it, like this was very therapeutic. We both needed this, you know, because he was definitely going through some heavy shit in his life. And Nate was like, dude, I want to do that. I was like, well, dude, we'll do it again. And you come, you know, almost like a support group, you know what I mean? Like, without being one. You know,
I understand.
I know me, I would never go to a support group because fuck all that noise.
No, and I totally understand, man. That's where you know, a lot of people feel like they're alone in this world. And in some ways you are, but other ways you're really not.
Right.
You know, we're humans. We've all gone through very similar situations. Others have gone through more harsh or, you know, aggressive situations than others. But the feelings. Like, we all have feelings, and we all have similar feelings. You know, like I was telling you, like, just sitting here and thinking about that with myself, I was like, you know, like, am I good enough? That was like a big question for myself. And
that imposter syndrome happens in life too, not just for the podcast or something you're creating.
If you would have asked me when I was 18 years old, I'd be sitting and doing this or being married or anything like that, I've probably told you I would have been dead, to be 100% honest with you.
Same.
You know, I was a different person back then. I wasn't focused. I didn't have, like, you know, my relationship with my family wasn't good. My relationship with people wasn't good.
Right.
And it's gotten to the point of putting that work in and getting out there and, you know, working on yourself. That's the biggest thing. I feel like a lot of people are like, you know, I am the way I am. Or like, my favorite thing is when people say, like, I'm just a bitch. Right. I'm like, so you know you
Brett
are.
Summer.
I'm like, so you know you are, but you're not willing to change. I'm like, that's not, you know, healthy in my opinion.
Really unhealthy.
And, you know, I've heard you talk about on the podcast, like with a certain, how do I say this? A certain kind of group of people who are maybe in the fashion industry. There's a little bit of stuff going on like that.
There's definitely some catty shit going on.
Yeah.
Like, I love all my friends. Those people, I love them. They're great. I love all of them. But when they start getting at each other's throats and this and that, and I mean, before that happens, everything is all lucky and happy-go-lucky, whatever, and everybody's having a great time. But then whenever, like, something happens and they disagree, I disavow all of them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, listen, I'm going to love you, but wait for me over here. I don't want to get involved in your shit.
Oh, 100%.
Because it was like, you know, I got to a point, it was like, started feeling like when I was raising my children, and one kid would go, Dad, you know, Gabby did this, and then, or it was Bianca did this, you know, and I'm like, and you know, you had to step in and say, hey, go to your rooms, you know, and you had to like lay down the law. And it was like, I had people coming at me like, you know, this is what's going on. I was like, okay, cool. I'm sorry that happened to you.
It's not me. I was like, I can't do
I didn't do that shit to you. I love you. I love them too. I'm not gonna turn my back on one of my friends because y'all are having a disagreement.
Yeah.
That's not who I am. I love both of you, or all of you, and I'm, you know, you can come to me and we can hang out no matter what, you know, but if this shit comes up, I'm going to shut that conversation down.
Yeah. My favorite thing, though, is like when I'm aware of drama, I watch it from afar. I'm not going to lie.
You like that meme where the guy's like standing around the tree going,
yeah, exactly. I'm sitting there looking at him like, because like no one will say names, but you'll know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's like little comments. I'm sitting there. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, there's like screenshots of text messages, streams, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah, like get out of here.
So fucking childish.
Or like my favorite thing is when people are like, I'm going to write a memoir and I'm going to write names and all this stuff. I'm like, please. I'm like, put it out there. I want to see what you got to say.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the whole cattiness of stuff, man. It's just like,
it can be entertaining, but
oh, I'm just not involved. I'm the same way. I don't get involved. Like, you know, drama, like with podcasts and stuff. I'm sure there's podcasters out there that don't like me or whatever it is.
I couldn't imagine there's one.
Oh, I'm sure there is. And I really just don't give a fuck about it. It's just like, for me, like, you know, I always invite people on the show. And it doesn't matter if you have a huge following or small following. You know, I'm here to help support and cross-pollinate kind of thing. And, you know, like I reach out to other podcasts. I'm like, hey, man, if you ever need a guest, I would love to come on. And then never get on. Or I have other people on my podcast. And like, yeah, we'll definitely have you on. And then 2 years later, never see them. I'm like, interesting. Interesting how that works.
I don't get booty hurt about stuff like that because I know from being... you know, I'm the host. I edit. I do all I run everything. So just like you know, and I have to find the guests. So I have to reach out and like schedule this shit and this and that. But it's like I know how fucking hard it is, and I know how people can fall through the cracks.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know, I've been there and I've seen it and I've done it. You know, I mean, people have reached out to me later on, and they're like, hey. We spoke about 8 months ago.
That's right.
Do you still want to interview me? And I'm like, yes. Sorry. You know, and I fucked myself a couple of times, dude. I mean, over the last couple of months have been weird. You know, like I would have people scheduled and then they would be like, hey, something came up. And I'm like, no problem. And then Pat and I would do one, or I'd call in an old faithful, whatever the case, or I just, I did one last month by myself.
How was that?
This month, it's like the third one I've done. I mean,
I've never done one just myself. I've never done it.
Well, I used to do it just by myself.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast used to just be me. If you listen to like the first 50 episodes, it's just me.
But that was when you were like, so these recent ones where you've done them by yourself
before the change.
Yeah, was this like, are these ones that you're doing by yourself just more off the top of your head, or is it more the camera centric focus, or like photography focus?
Camera.
Okay,
no, it was just all audio. So if you're on the audio page and you're, wherever you get your podcasts and you listen to like the first 50 episodes, it was called Archetype Aperture. Mm-hmm. So and then at a point I did a rebranding, and that's when I started calling it the Graybeard Podcast. And when I started doing that was when I was having guests, but I mean, I was still Archetype Aperture for the first few guests. And then I was like, hey, this isn't making any sense because I'm having people that don't have anything to do with photography on, and so I wanted to like change it to where it was more broad and I can have anyone on mm-hmm. that I wanted to. That was my goal, was like, I want to be able to talk to whoever the fuck I want to. I don't just associate with photographers, although it's great. I mm-hmm. love photographers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I doing a live by yourself is a weird situation.
I could understand. I wouldn't even know what to do.
You just start talking.
Yeah.
And have you ever watched Theo Vaughn's?
Oh yeah, I know his style.
I would just rant.
Yeah.
I mean, not like mean rants or negative stuff, but I would just talk about whatever fucking. I got like some severe, ADHD. I think I've never been diagnosed, but just the way my brain works, I'm like, that's what that is, I guess. I mean, if it's a real, I'm gonna get in trouble. If it's even a real thing, I've started to question like people that say they have it. I'm just mm-hmm. like, no, you just got an overactive imagination. You got a lot of shit on your mind. Get it out, fella. Mm-hmm. Go do some exercise. Quiet that mind down. Whatever you got to do. But my brain goes in a million different directions all at once, and I can sit there and literally, I could commandeer this podcast if I wanted to, and I don't want to do that.
I understand.
But and I could just sit there and talk. And which makes it helpful
mm-hmm.
when you have a guest that doesn't really know how to talk or answer questions.
Isn't that an interesting situation?
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those.
So you're like, okay, I'm going to carry this podcast.
Yep. Now I've done it because there's been times where I've asked someone like a question that has like multiple layers to it, and then they're like, yeah. I'm like, what? I'm like,
yeah, the answer is yes.
I'm like, what would you say? But
Can it be more descriptive?
Yeah, and that's the thing where it's like you as the host, that's where you have that backbone and that experience. You're like, okay, we're gonna figure this mm-hmm. out, and that's where that's why I write certain questions down as well, is because I'm probing you. I'm kind of seeing
last time I got probed, I was abducted.
Ooh. But no, the reason why is because, say for example, like the last time me and you did a podcast, I had you on here, we got into some deep shit. We got into some real deep shit. And that's why, like, whenever I'm looking at someone in the eye, I can see when their eyes are starting to tear up a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm like, dig a little deeper. I'm like,
this
all right.
Fucker.
I'm like, all right, let's get in here a little bit more. And it's not just you. I see it on all people. And that's why I don't do Zoom podcasts, because I can't read through the screen as well.
It's real weird. It's just weird.
And just like body posture, your body language, how you're like leaning into me or talking to me, or if someone's like kind of pulling away and they seem a little like distant on it, I'm like, okay. I'm like, so let me ask this question. Then I'll see them get a little bit more into the conversation. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's what they want to talk about. Let's get into that a little bit more. And it's an art. Mm-hmm. Talking to people is an art, man. A lot of people think that I just get up here and I'm like, oh, so who are you? And then we get like, I get amazing.
Tell me about yourself. Okay.
We're done. I mean, I'm the same way, dude. If you ask me to describe myself, I'm like, I really have to think about it for a little bit because, I'm a mix of things, like I have different parts of my life, whether it's through the podcasting, through working, through my life experiences, getting married, like there's just like you are. There's so many layers to a person.
You're an onion.
Yeah, that's right. As Shrek would say, or was it donkey? I say one of the two.
I'm more of a banana.
I'm more of a banana. So you peel a couple sides.
That's it. And then it's just, this is me.
Hey, and that's the thing. How it is with me as well is like I'm unapologetically me, but I'm also I'm empathetic to things as well.
Right.
There's been like great episodes I've done, and then there's episodes where I'm like I could have gone a little bit deeper on that.
Oh yeah, every time I have a podcast and I end it, and then those people, I walk them out the door, and I'm like, all right, I'll see you. You're welcome back anytime. And I go inside and I'm like, oh. why didn't we talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do that shit all the time.
That's why I always, I keep it to an hour or an hour 15, just because a lot of times I have people back on, because of that specific reason. I'm like, okay, this is something, like, I'll write a note down, like, we need to talk about this next time. And then I'll go back through my notes. Like, I had notes from our interview, and I like looked back through it a little bit more and was just checking it out a little bit more to see what was going on. And, sorry, my dad was calling me.
Super rude, Dad.
Yeah.
Saying, man.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. But so when it comes to that, though, it's just the art of podcasting, the art of talking to people is really one of those things it's an art,
It is totally an art.
And it's something that I'm very proud of as well, because I've developed in it, you have developed in it, and as you said, you're not an extrovert. I am. I'm very much an extrovert. If me and Shan go to an event, I go run around and talk to people very quickly. Me and her will start with 2 people, and then I'll kind of disappear. I'm like, whoop, like I go around and everything. And that's why I like going to events, and I need to try to get a little bit more out there as well, because, I've had people on the podcast from like Wind Down Wednesday. I don't know if you're aware of who they are, or like the Collab Cafe and everything. Oh, they calling you too?
No, I was just annoying me.
I understand.
In my butt.
Yeah, but I've seen you like go to the Collab Cafe as well a lot. I've been trying to get those boys on for a minute. I know they're busy, so I can't hit on them. I know they're very busy.
You can hit them up. I mean, hit them up. Don't be afraid to hit them up. They're the nicest people you'll ever meet. But yeah, dude, I mean, they're out like fucking doing the damn thing. They are buying up businesses and starting businesses, and I mean, just every day I go on, they're just I can't keep up with them.
It's crazy to see, man, and that's the cool thing is like Jacksonville's growing so much now. All the businesses that are coming here, and there's all kinds of new people coming here. Like you had a comedian on the other day. What was her name?
Vanessa Scaduto.
Yeah, I've seen her. Me and her have talked in the past. I just haven't had a chance to have her on yet. But
She's fucking awesome.
She was cool. I enjoyed her interview with y'all.
3 hours and 15 minutes we talked.
You guys were getting into the end there. You guys were talking about some shit. I was laughing my ass off. Yeah. And then she's friends with Marshall Malone. And you say you had Marshall on as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to... It's no shade, Marshall. I love you, baby. But we had scheduled a podcast with Marshall that night. And I don't know if you probably weren't there in the beginning, but I had said in the beginning of the podcast that Marshall is the best employee that I've never had, because he replaced himself. When you work at a place and you're like, I got to call out, they're like, okay, but you better fill that shift.
Yep.
He filled the shift.
That's cool. Good for him.
And knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah, she's super funny from what I've seen. And I was telling you, I have a podcast coming up with a comedian as well. And it's interesting. I've only had one other comedian on so far. His name is Bobby Brown Jr. And now he's working with like Kill Tony. He's over in Austin, Texas, doing all the shows and everything. And that's my favorite thing as well. Like whenever
seeing them be successful.
Well, when someone tells me they're going to do something, and they actually fucking do it.
Right.
Because that's the thing. There will be people on here. Yeah, and like there's some people who are a little more grandiose about themselves, which I understand. You have to believe in yourself before anybody else does, which 100% understand. But whenever I see someone kind of taper off and then I don't ever see him anymore, I'm like, damn, man. I'm like, you had potential. I'm like, it saddens me to see that happen.
Same, dude. It's tough. But, like... I mean, I love that too. I haven't yet had any guests, I don't think, that went on to do that type of thing, but I think that's fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah, man.
I do. Do you have like podcast guest goals, like someone that you want to try and get on your show?
Yeah.
That may be a little bit out of reach.
Yeah, I actually said this on the last one. There's a couple people, like I've also been very lucky where I've gotten people on who I never thought I would get on here. But, there's like, I would like to get some NFL players on here, a couple more. Like I'm a big Jaguars fan, unfortunately, especially right now. Even though it is Sunday and the Jags won today. Fuck yeah.
Every now and then a gets a nut.
You're 100% right. But like just getting a little bit more into just those kinds of people. Also have some other artists, that are some bigger artists in Jacksonville that are interested in coming on. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, man. Really, I would really enjoy talking to anybody. That's the thing. It's just more, if you have an interesting story, you can sit down and talk to me and be real with me, and I can tell that you're being real with me. Because there's sometimes I'll sit down with people and I'll look at them and I can tell they're not like telling me the truth, or they're
not genuine.
Yeah, and that's the thing that sucks, man. I hate when I see that.
You just want to stop right there.
Yeah, because there's stuff like,
fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Or we get done with the podcast and they're different after the podcast. I'm like, that's the shit that makes me feel dirty. I'm like, so you just kind of lied to us for an hour and a half.
Yeah, keep looking for this. Usually it'll be within the next 4 weeks, but yours maybe never.
Oh no, there's a couple podcasts I've done that I haven't even released just because I didn't enjoy it. Or like, there was one where I went to a place and they said we were originally gonna have an hour, and then I get there and they said we're gonna have 20 minutes. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so, just destroyed my whole plan on this whole thing. And, there's just sometimes if me and the person didn't jive very well, I'm just like, okay, it just wasn't good. You know what I mean? But 99.9% of my podcasts that I record are released. Yeah, there's only a couple that just weren't great, or they were rushed, or they just didn't, they just weren't up to my standard of podcasting.
Right.
And you just keep them, man. Learning experience, keep them in the pocket, and you just never know. Maybe they come out in the future. But I've also listened back to earlier podcasts. I'm like, oh God, I'm like, what the hell was that? What did I do? But my very first podcast was with Shannon. I thought that was we did a really good one.
I love y'all's podcast together.
Oh, the Sunday
those are some
Hangouts.
of my favorite.
I have a question for you. Funny enough, it's a would you rather question.
Oh, shit.
So
here we go.
So I asked her this, and she's fucking nuts. So it was a funny one. So I asked her, like, would you rather find 10,000 or 1,000 cockroaches in your attic, or a person? Which would you rather find?
And she chose the man.
Yeah, which I found.
She could put one bullet in that guy and be done.
Yeah, yeah. But she's also thinking it's some little scrawny dude coming out of that. You don't know who the fuck is in there.
I don't know. Probably the dude. Honestly,
I take the roaches all day.
But you used to do pest control. You're like not fazed by that shit. But I watched Creep Show when I was a kid. If you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I know what Creep Show is.
Oh my God! If you don't know what Creep Show is, go watch it. There's an episode. It's like one of those Tales from the Crypt.
Okay, yeah.
There was like one movie would be just different stories.
Understand?
Episodes.
Yeah.
It was kind of like Black Mirror. You know?
Yeah.
But Creep Show, there was one, and it actually had the actor in it was Stephen King.
Oh, really?
He was like this maintenance guy or something like that. And
That's cool.
He would smash a roach and and he was in this clean room, but these roaches kept getting in, and he would kill one every time he saw it, and then somehow by the end of it, they were just coming in droves, and they ended up killing him.
Oh, no.
Eating him from the inside out and popping out of his mouth and shit.
He got her freaking out.
Every person that doesn't like roaches fear, they tapped into that for sure.
But the thing about insects, so not to gross everybody out, not to gross the listeners out, at all days and times, I'm in an apartment complex right now.
Yeah, we know. We just don't want to fucking see them.
There's a million roaches in the walls. I'm willing to bet you money, especially here in Florida.
You can listen to the walls.
Yeah, so you can hear the.
No, you can hear that's a rat.
Yeah, right. I say those are a little bit more scary. If it was rats or a person, I may take the person. I say rats are a little bit more a pain in the ass, so I'll take that. But Shannon said she's like, I'll get the pew pew out.
Oh, I heard.
Yeah, I
agreed with her.
I had a couple people reach out to me and talk about that, and I was like, I don't think so.
I think I agree with her.
You know how freaky it would be if you opened up your attic and there's just a dude hello.
Oh yeah, after I initially shit my pants.
That's how I would be.
But I mean, probably both. I'm just either one. I'm going to shit my pants.
Yeah, I had funny enough to bring another story into this conversation. I was sitting on my couch the other day, and I was sitting there. I was editing the podcast, doing Premiere Pro, doing my thing. And from my couch over here, you can see our door, and I saw my door handle turn.
What?
I'm like, the fuck? And someone tried to walk into our apartment. And I walk out and I look into the peephole and some old lady, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, in my mind, have you seen those things where someone will knock on your door, you open it and then they bum rush you?
Yeah.
I sat there, I literally cracked the door open. I was like, get the fuck away from my door and closed the door. I was like, you got the wrong house. I was sitting there. Well, I'll tell you, my blood was pumping. I was like, all right. I'm like, we got to get prepared. I'm like, we got to figure this out kind of thing. But no, man.
That's scary. I thought you were going to tell me a ghost story.
I got ghost stories.
No, that's where my brain went. I was editing and I saw something from the corner of my eye.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in something.
Okay. I say for me, I'm not personally a religious person, so not my jazz kind of thing. But what makes me think that there may be something after we're gone is experiences I've had.
It's energy. I mean, we're supposedly made up of energy, inside of us. And where does that shit go?
That's exactly. It's just, it's weird. You look at a dead body and you can tell that's not that person anymore. That's their shell, right? And, our personalities, our experiences, our memories are what make us who we are and how we act and what we do. And so there's been multiple experiences, actually. My mom thinks I'm crazy, but in my mom's house, she lives right down the road. And there was one night I walked out of my So let me restart the story. So there's a hallway in my mom's house. On one end of the hallway is a bedroom. On the other end of the hallway is where my bedroom was. And then there's a bathroom.
Okay.
So I went to use the bathroom one night back when I was still living with my mom. And I walked out, and it's my brother's room is on the other side of the hallway. And I looked to my right, and I swear, like crystal clear to this day, it looked like a 6'8", like shadow figure human being. There's no lights on. You know, I just saw the outline of someone. I'm like, the fuck? And I ran to my room. And then there was another time where we were sitting on the couch. Shannon was there with me, and we were talking to my parents. They had their couch on this wall. We were on another wall, and behind the wall where my parents were sitting is their bedroom. And in their bedroom door, I saw something keep like going like this. Like out of the corner of the freaking door, just like keep like sticking something out. It looked like a head, and I was like, "Hey, yeah." I'm like, "Do you guys have like balloons in your room? Like maybe there's a birthday I wasn't aware of, or you guys were celebrating something I'm not aware of." They're like, "No, why?" I'm like, "There's something that keeps looking at me." I'm like, "I'm not fucking with you guys." Like they think I'm like messing with them. I'm like, "I swear to God, there's something over there." And then my other one, what was another? Oh, I had one other one. I was up in New Jersey, and my family's house up in New Jersey is like haunted. Everybody's like agrees to it. They like live near a freaking cemetery. And my whole family went to go do something. I stayed back at the house. I went to use the bathroom. The door was left open, and I was just taking a piss, and the door closed. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I tried to open it, and it wouldn't open. And then out of nowhere, like it was like one more try, and it just popped open. It felt like someone was like holding the other side of the door. So that's
creepy.
That's my experience. You know, like I said, believe it or not, you know, it is what it is. I'm just telling you what I experienced in my life.
Did you finish peeing before you checked the door?
I pissed myself as I was trying to open the door.
Like, hey, I'm sorry, there's piss everywhere. I
had a moment. I had a little bit of a moment, but like, you know, I've heard stories and stuff. And that's the thing is like, you can actually, I'm in the ghost shows. They never find anything, but they never do. They just keep you on the edge of your seat for no reason.
Except for EVPs, which can be faked
so
easily.
Well, it's a radio frequency. That's really all that is. You're just picking up a bunch of radio frequencies, and they're saying that's what like a ghost is saying to you, you know, kind of thing. But that's just my personal experience. I've seen just weird stuff like that.
Yeah, everyone in my house thinks that the house has got an entity living in it.
Oh, yeah?
In my house. And like all the women, and they're like, "Oh no, I've had experiences." And I'm like, I've only had one experience. And you've been to my house. I don't know if you remember, but like the bathroom, there's like the bathroom door, my daughter's bedroom. There's like a closet, and then Evie's, her daughter's bedroom. Well, that closet, you know, I was sitting on the couch, and she was working, and both of my dogs were sitting in front of me, and I hear it sounded like her daughter's, because it's an old house. So when you open the door, it goes pop, you know, like the old paint on the door gets stuck. And it pops open. And so I heard that, and I was like, "Is Evie home?" And she's like, "Nope." And I'll go, And so I go over there, and I remembered the noise, you know, and I'm trying to remember. And so I opened her bedroom door, and I was like, "That's not the noise I heard." So I opened the closet door, and I'm like, "That's the fucking door that opened." So it was the closet that opened and then shut. And that was what I heard. So I was like reluctant to tell her
I can understand,
because I'm like, I don't want to confirm this shit with y'all, you know, but apparently like she's told me so many times she's seen things that, you know, we have a barn door in our bathroom, and she's like, it's opened and closed by itself. I've heard it. And I'm like, She's like, during the day I can hear somebody jiggling the front door handle. And I'm like, no, you don't. Ugh. You know, we have a storm door, and it's old, and the handle just kind of is jiggly. And if the wind blows hard enough, you know, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's an old house, and and when the sun's on that side of the house, it'll start popping and cracking,
creaking and stuff.
So I'm like, dude, you know, and I try to debunk fucking everything.
I can understand.
You know, until I have like something comes up and goes, "Hey, bub, I'm a fucking ghost." You know, I'm probably not going to believe too much that there's some shit in my house.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, I've had other experiences and stuff like that, but I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
And also, like, your mind can play tricks on you as well as, like, what I think about. Like, you can create, if you're scared enough,
Matrix.
Like, well, not even just that. Like, say you go to a haunted house, you know, you're freaked out in that moment. Yeah. So your mind is seeing things that may not be there, or you're, like, making up situations that could not be happening.
Well, like you were talking about, like, going to the bathroom and then seeing a shadow in the darkness. Well, you had the light on. And when your eyes are adjusting, it does weird things, and you see weird things. Like when I was a kid, similar setup, you know, like my bedroom door, I could see my sister's bedroom door when mine was open, which as a child, I slept with my fucking door open and I had a nightlight, you know, which made shit so much worse. It made so many more shadows in my room, and I didn't realize it till I was older. I was like, what the fuck was I doing? This is way better to turn the lights all off. But I always slept with the door open. And there was a hallway, and you know, but I could see my sister's bedroom door. The doors were brown, you know, like a just regular oak color. And so you could see the door. I could see the light brown and the door frame. And every night, there was a certain point that, like, I swear, people talk about paralysis demons.
Yes,
like, I would literally have waking sleep paralysis. Like, I'd be awake but not able to move. And I would look into the hallway, and you could see literally, because it's white door jamb, light brown door, there was definitely a whole shadow covering the entire thing and moving, because you could see that there would be like parts of the door jamb that would be blocked, and then it would just keep moving back and forth. And I'm like, you know, and it would freak me so bad that I would stay. I mean, I didn't sleep good when I was a kid, ever. But eventually I got over that shit, dude, and I just kind of forgot about it, like you do, you know, like they in all the scary movies and everything. As you get older, you lose the innocence and you stop seeing the things. I guess I just didn't. I cared more about sleep at that point. Like, do whatever you want to do. I just want to sleep.
Just don't hurt me. I
don't even care at this point. Just fucking let me sleep, dude.
No, I understand, man. It's weird stuff. It's just, I don't know. The human experience is weird because everything's new when you're a kid. You know, do you remember like time just feeling like it stood still all the time? Like you go to school and you're just like, Jesus Christ, this has been going forever. And I'm sure you have probably had the same effect. Like as I've gotten older, time just seems like it goes like
slipping away
like this. And that's something that I've tried to take note of a little bit more is, you know, if I'm having a really good day, or I'm like yesterday, we went and celebrated my best friend's birthday. He turned 26, shout out Nolan. And just to take a snapshot of the moment and be like, you know, stuff fleets after a while, or you never know when the last time you hang out with your friends could be, or someone moves away, or, you know, it's just taking that moment of just like, okay, enjoy the moment and remember this kind of thing.
I think that's what happens is as children, they are more in the moment. They are in the moment. They're like, they're just experiencing what they're experiencing. They don't know what's coming down the line. You know, they don't think about mortgages. They don't think about car payments. They don't think about paying taxes. They don't think about anything but what they're fucking doing. Just being a kid, just having fun. And I think that is doing that. It kind of like, it makes things feel like time will never end and you're invincible and all those things. But as you get older, you know, I mean, obviously the real shit starts happening. But I think, you know, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but like been driving down the highway and like you kind of go, how the fuck did I get here?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
I think that's what we do. We shut down during parts of our day that we don't really care about or block it out. So it really makes the day so much shorter because like you're really not enjoying yourself at work. You're not, I don't want to be in the moment while I'm working. You know what I mean? I want to shut my brain off and just get through this day.
Yeah.
And that's what we think about. Just get through this day. It's just another day. And then you start living from day to day. Then you're like, just get through this week. Just get through this week. Okay, this is going to be a bad month. Just get through the month. And then you're like, fuck, these years feels like months, you know? And that's, you know, at my age, that's what it feels like. Like I'm just like, oh my God, these years are just slipping away, you know?
No, it's scary. And that's the thing, like with me, like as I've gotten older, is just I'm more aware of my mortality on things. And like, you know, we have people who aren't here anymore, who have friends who aren't here anymore. And it really makes me take a second to like, you know, appreciate things, you know, like I was telling you about like the whole job situation I lost and all that. And like, it definitely sucks, but sitting there and taking a moment to think about like, you know, I have a lot in my life that's going for me. Yeah, that's really the main thing. And I feel like a lot of people get sucked up in that. I know I'm not the only person who has this sentiment or this, you know, thought process, but you just got to take a moment, man. Life is very short. And that's something I've kind of come to grips with a little bit more as well and try to be a little bit better on it is like, you know, shit will suck for a minute. And then, you know, you'll go a couple weeks and you're like, oh, I'm in a way better position than I was. Or maybe it takes years, you know, it does take years sometimes. And it's just one of those things, man. The human experience is weird. And we all think it's weird. That's why we all do these things. Like we talk about our life situations and all that. And it's just It's weird. I don't know. And I smile about it because it's also exciting at the same time because you don't know what's around the corner.
Right.
And that's freaky, but it's also cool at the same time.
Yeah, I get freaked out sometimes. Like, I'll be like, your mortality creeps up on you. You're like, I'm not going to fucking be here one day. Like, I won't even exist. Like, will I have a conscience? You start thinking about all this weird shit, and it's gripping, dude. Like,
that's me before I go to bed every night.
Like when I was a kid and I would throw a ball and it would be heading right towards someone's fucking front window. And I'd be like, and you reach down and pull grass. I don't know if you ever did that, or maybe there's people out there that'll relate, but I would like literally get down and just hold on to the grass. And that's that feeling that I get. I'm like, oh shit. And then you're like, oh wait, it doesn't fucking matter. I'll be dead.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, my main goal in life is just to leave something behind, whether that's children or, like doing this, that's why I think this is.
Oh, sure.
It's like a time capsule,
100%.
I think it would be cool one day unfortunately, if I'm not here.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
I'm just adjusting.
You're good.
Keep talking.
But like, if I'm not here one day and say like I die early or die young or something like that, like I want to leave something for my kids.
Yeah.
I wanted them to be able to listen and be like, this is what my dad was like when he was 22.
Would it be fucked up if like you died and then your podcast got huge?
That would be some bullshit, wouldn't it? That would be some shit.
I would haunt whoever.
I'm like, Shannon, I need you to
continue the podcast.
Make
millions. Live your life.
Do your thing. You're not allowed to remarry. That's my one rule. I'm just kidding.
Probably wouldn't want to.
11%. No, you're good. I think we can go ahead and wrap it up.
Oh, shit. Are we killing the battery?
Yeah, it's all good, man.
Dang it.
But as I've said, man, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Love you guys, man.
Hey, man, love you too, dude. Like I said, I love meeting people, and like I would have met you unless I started this, and I think it's pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
The podcasting industry is really cool. It's fun, and just keep doing your thing, man. I think you do amazing podcasts. I think your production is 1,000% better than what I do. I need to get the freaking
I'm looking for an intern for Patrick.
Ooh, is Patrick not going to be doing it? Or is
No, he's still doing it, but his job is, we've had a couple of times where he's had to stay late at work. And
I understand.
He wasn't able to make it, but I'm looking for an intern. He knows it. I'm not going to mince words about it.
No, you're good.
He know, he's not upset by it.
I understand.
Because it will be known that Patrick, that's his chair.
He's the Jamie.
He is the man.
Yeah.
If he can't make it for some reason, I need just a backup.
I totally understand.
And when I say intern, I mean somebody that wants to be involved in a podcast and does not look for money, because I do not have it.
Yeah, I understand.
So, but if you're interested in finding out about how I do my operation and how we make things work, by all means, hit me up on Instagram, X, fucking wherever. I don't care. I'll post my number here. Let's not do that.
No, you're good.
I mean, although my number is on my Instagram, I don't care.
What's the best email? How about that? Let's try that.
Let's go with jmullis34@gmail.com.
There we go. Make sure you guys hit him up if you're interested. Podcasting is one of those things where, like, say if you want to work in radio, say if you want to work in your own podcast, it's really a good way of getting that experience, because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I'm still learning what the fuck I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. And it's a good thing. You can add it to your resume. So I think it'd be a good thing.
True story.
But like I said, man, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for your time. I know you came here on your weekend and everything, and I always greatly appreciate it. Obviously, let me know anytime you need a guest, man. I'll come slide out there, come say what's up. We always have fun on your podcast. But let everybody know where they can give you a follow on the social media, YouTube, all that good stuff before I let you go.
Like I said before, the Graybeard Podcast on Instagram, the RGB Podcast on Twitter, X, YouTube is at the Graybeard Podcast, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty much the same thing everywhere, I guess.
Hell yeah! So
go follow me there, and let me know. Hit me up. If you're interested in coming on the podcast, hit me up, and tell me a little bit about yourself. If I don't know you already, I may say, okay, give me a little time. Let me just check you out, and then we'll go from there. But outside of that, man.
Well, guys, make sure you guys go give him a follow, a like, a subscribe on all the social media, on the YouTube. And if you guys check him out from our podcast here, let them know that Who Are You sent you. I love when everybody goes and checks out all the guests that we have on the podcast. It's always fun. So make sure you guys go give him a go give him a follow, subscribe, a like, a comment, all the good stuff. And before you guys get out of here, if you guys want to give us a follow, if you guys aren't following us already and you're checking out the YouTube channel, what are we doing here? Make sure you like, subscribe, comment on all of our posts. Make sure you guys give us a follow on the social media. It's going to be at Who Are You Pod on everything everything from Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all the normal places. Also, if you feel like you would be a good fit for the show, if you're an artist, an entrepreneur, or really a mix of anything, and you feel like you have a good story and you guys feel like we would jive well, make sure you guys either hit me up in the social media DMs or you can email me. It's going to be whoareyoupod@yahoo.com, and maybe we'll have you guys on a future episode. But as I say every week, y'all, thank you so much for checking us out, and we'll see you guys next week.
Deuces.